I was out here about 20 minutes ago just staring out into the water.
Yeah.
And, a little bit of reflection. It's generally pretty quiet out here. And, I thought about everything that we've done for the last 6 months and everything that we accomplished. And, I took some time and I thought, do I have it in me to go another 3 months? I feel like people don't realize how much that's asking of people like you and I with the work that we put in. And, I didn't really have an answer. And then you called me back out here and I'm driving and I see the court center, way the fuck away up on a hill.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound cheesy, but it's like this beacon saying, keep going. Like you built this, keep going. So it was cathartic.
One thing that was in, I'm glad you feel that way. And, yeah, I think that's been a big motivating point. Maxwell asked me, and it's such a tough one to answer, is what's going to happen? Like, can it not run if you are not mayor? And I'm like, I want to say, sure, it can.
Yeah.
But you, me, Corolla, Natalia, even Jason now, very few people, I think, probably recognize how many hundreds of man hours go into that operation. Yeah. Even that 3-hour stint, like, but I tried to explain it to her like this. Can it function to some degree? Sure. But until things are set in place, like we take our hand off that heartbeat, we have red tape that gets in the way. I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically a public service the way it's set up. So whoever comes in next, right, is going to have to, number one, get onboarded.
Yeah.
And understand the operation from top to bottom.
We don't even know it.
That's it. We don't.
Yeah.
So I don't envy whoever the next mayor is. I won't lie.
I will say that we, as a part of our plan for next term, needs to be in a place to allow it to be operational via committee.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, ideally, I'd like to see that by month 2, so we at least have a month to see it float without us.
Well, and refine it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've been dealing with like PD shit for the past. I feel like every time I say no more PD focus, I feel like I get dragged in.
They drag you back.
They drag me back in. You know why? Because I come in with a simple request, and they turn into like one of those like Spanish dramas where it's like 20 episodes long. Not that I watch them, but I have an idea about it, right?
Yeah.
It turns into a 20 episode fucking PD drama. Fucking last night, a bunch of dumb shit happened by the police department, like just back to back to back, and obviously it's because no one, the mommy and daddy wasn't around, right?
Yeah.
And no Maxwell, no Peters, no Moss, no Vivian, and I talked to them about it, and I tried to explain to them like what I'm having to hear from the public and them looking for answers, and there was kind of a feeling of like, well, we don't need to give any, you know what I mean? They didn't say as much, but they told me at one point that I was talking in riddles. I'm like, all right, bet I'll just tell you exactly what I'm thinking. And I kind of laid it out, but I was very like, it wasn't even that deep. And they both kind of just got flabbergasted. Like, it was almost like, can he say that?
Yeah.
I think I've been so, reasonable that I think they were surprised I had criticism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I touched on a couple things, that we had previously discussed. But the big thing was like, I'm like, like, bro, there was some stun-locking statements that were made. Like, they're saying that Ray wanted more cops to show up at his Fleeca bank. Wait, do you know what happened with 80s?
No, you mentioned Ray earlier,
Okay.
but
so Ray does a
details.
Fleeca bank.
Yeah.
They have a hostage. Cadet shows up. This is according to Ray. All right.
Mhm.
And they demand food for the hostage because he's gonna die, right? Cadet's like, oh no, you got to do it later. You know, none of cops is like, just get another cop here to give him food. Somehow a bunch of fucking cops show up. Oh, they apparently Ray said, look, I'm gonna end up like shooting this guy in the fucking leg, you know, or something like that. You know, he's like, maybe I'm gonna shoot him in the leg, you know. Maybe I'm gonna shoot him in the leg. I don't know. Maybe in the head. Are you sure you're not gonna bring him food? Like, you know, like fucking, you know.
It's not half bad.
And well, I am his OG at the end of the day.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah, fucking roads traffic stop 3 years ago. Went from a doctor into a gangbang. It was great.
That's right. That's right.
So fucking that bunch of cops show up, right? And they take the and now, according to Ray, he's getting a sense that they're getting like really hostile. It's like, look, this, like, it's not that serious. Like, fucking relax, right?
Yeah.
Trying to de-escalate, thinks all's good. He gives them the hostage. They get in the car and they just mag dump them inside the vehicle. Now, I will say that Peter said that none of that should have happened. Okay, bet. I'm like, okay. Now, like, is this something that's going to get communicated, right? Like, how are people going to know that it was handled, right? Yeah. And he sort of diverted to saying that the cops did it because no, I don't think he necessarily meant to say it this way. At least I hope not. I'm trying to be charitable. Is that it's because the cops were mad that they had to break off of another call. And I'm like, huh? I don't think that's what you mean to say, because that sounds awful, right?
Yeah.
But separately, he also said that, well, Ray wanted more cops to show up because I guess it was like Kit's first robbery. And like, I was like, okay, well, what makes you think that? But it was all like assumptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I tried to explain, like, what do you want me to do with this answer, right? You're telling me, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Right? And that trust me, bro, is what led to something extremely egregious. And, like, you know, if I'm being, I don't know. It's, they're just, it was a tough conversation. I
get that you can't suspend an entire shift worth of officers, but
no, I didn't even want that. Just
No,
like fucking tell the public, like fucking communicate it.
But
So-
man, I would ask more. I would say, what are you doing to disincentivize that behavior? Like, do you think just saying, hey, don't do that is enough?
I don't think the conversation went beyond that. I think both Moss and Peters either got stunned or locked up.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where the, you know, the hearing thing I came to realization, right? I talked to Maeve, and she was furious on a number of things, and was really like, you know, like, hey, you should make Maxwell chief and whatnot, and I get the sentiment, right? And she wasn't really pushing it heavy, right? But it's not the first time I heard it, right? But I explained to her that changing a chief is not what I think a lot of people imagine, right? You're removing a piece from the Jenga tower and you're putting it somewhere else. And when you do that, and the thing is, the PD's not a stable Jenga tower. Pieces have been removed, have been falling out. The wood is fucking rotten, right? And so just pulling out Maxwell out of there and putting it on top and being like, oh, we did it, is not, you're not going to get the result you're looking for, right? Maxwell, fantastic, right? I think in a perfect world, could she be a chief? I think so, you know? Is everyone going to agree? No. Is she perfect? No. But you know what will happen? It's going to be 2 months of what happened with Daisy and Peters originally.
Yeah.
Everybody that had a problem with them, all of a sudden is going to be their best friend and is going to attack Maxwell and anyone that she tries to put into place. And PD is going to be in a lockdown for 2 months before she's cooked, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to Peters and Moss. They got trivialized for an entire term. We had to fight the fucking marshals on their behalf. And then as soon as all of that was gone, they started slapping asses with Sky. And, you know.
Well, and you know what, though? You make a good point, too, though, about you move her to the top and all you do is you create a massive gap where she was before in the chain of command.
I brought that up. I actually called him out on that. I'm like, and because Peters has been complaining to me and, you know, and I've been witnessing shit go down. And I was like, you know, like I brought up, it took you guys 2 months to fucking fire Frost to the point where I was like feeling bad for the guy. Yeah. And I don't think they could register that their action right there, just like, it doesn't matter if you're a police department, a mayor's office, whatever the fuck it is that you pretty much in 2 months said that whatever Frost did is perfectly okay. And then it's like a Pikachu face that cops are going crazy, right?
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
I also brought up you promoted Ruby, and I made it clear I had no problem with Ruby, but Peters over here didn't want it, and Maxwell had some issue, and they're just like, well, Peters never told me, and like, fucking Maxwell didn't tell me for 10 days, and I'm like, why didn't you ask him? Why didn't you talk to the shift? Well, you guys aren't around. Like, what are you expecting, right? Like, in your own bubble of thinking someone is ready or whatever is what they, but you didn't communicate with your organization, right? Like,
those are big decisions, right?
Yeah,
like you have to have those conversations.
Yeah, like for example, right? There's some things between you and the material hub, right?
Yeah.
We had those conversations before a decision was made. We had resolution in advance, right? Compromise. But if you just make it, you're pretty much saying, fuck you to Peters and fuck you to, to Maxwell, right?
Your opinion doesn't matter.
Yes.
Is what it says.
And I pointed out, too, is like, y'all didn't consult with your active command, who I witnessed with my own eyes on a day-to-day basis running your department. While Peters was often, Azeroth. Yeah. Moss was nowhere to be seen. And even Trig was gone. And Sky is in shift 3. So y'all came in and kind of just like without any consultation based on, I don't know where they would be getting, like reasonably, where'd they be thinking anyone is like, you know what I mean? If you're not around, like, you know what I mean? It's like me making a decision for a factory in China, but I've never been there before. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that guy seems good enough. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that Ruby is not deserving, right? I'm sure she is. But by not consulting or including them, like, you're kind of undermining yourself a bit there. So I kind of brought up some of these like pain points and as kind of like a, you cannot be surprised that things are in shambles. And just because now you're trying to fix it doesn't mean that you have a plan to make sure things aren't going to fall back like they did for the past God knows how long, right?
Yeah.
And
I guess in the back of my mind, give me one sec. In the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, do they want those jobs anymore? Like, does Moss want to be chief? Does Peters want to be ass chief? I guess that's my concern.
I think they do, but I also think that they are losing sight of community. And I don't think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Moss and Peters aren't even aren't even being honest with each other. I fucking called them out on that shit.
In In what way? Like straight up lying to each other, withholding information?
They're like holding grievances from each other.
Can they not have those conversations with one another? Like you have to be able to have.
I think they do, but not
people.
to a degree. Like I don't know what it is. Like it's obviously there. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know. The thoughts in my mind, and I worry quite a bit that a lot of people hold on to jobs, like the justices, for instance. You know, they hold on to the position when you know, a lot of their actions say,
I don't think
I don't
it's
really want this job.
I don't
You know
think
what I
it's
mean?
that deep. I think they both want it, right?
Okay.
But I think they have been convinced that they do not need to that they've gone away for so long not having to be responsible to the public is that they no longer believe that they are responsible to the public. So the ultimate solution I was now contemplating, and we're going to keep this close, right, and workshop it, is the public hearings.
Yeah.
Because if they're not willing to communicate with the public, we make them do it. And I don't just mean the LSPD, I mean every member of law enforcement. That if a situation with law enforcement occurs in which there is a belief there can be it may be a matter of public safety.
Concern. Yeah.
Yeah. That they must come to the hearing. And in the event that doesn't happen, right? Like they attempt to skip it, there should be a very, very harsh penalty.
Yeah. I know Maeve had some reservations early on about the committees that, you know, it would be used as a mechanism to kind of name and shame people. And, you know, I get that concern, but I think that only happens if the committee meetings are weaponized. You know what I mean? If there's malicious intent behind why you're calling the person down beyond, you know, for the good and knowledge of the public. I think as long as it's done professionally, I'm not concerned about that. But at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, the chief, the ass chief, they have the public at arm's length, and what ends up happening is you're the one who has to be accountable for their actions.
That's exactly it. And I don't think that's the thing that I think angers me the most is the way those conversations go. It's almost like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not recognizing that I kept them from getting ambushed yesterday. And now I'm starting to regret, and I kind of wish that Hades just killed them all. But the only reason I hold back is I want to see better.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you want to be treated like fucking dogs, that can happen.
Well, and that's what I mean about actions that disincentivize shitty behavior, for lack of a better word. I mean, again, the last thing I want is for, you know, some gang to run a train on CD.
It's just so, but it's so tough. Like, I mean, even Peters, who and can be reasonable at times, is like, besties just shoot cops all day or some shit like that over Ming getting unjustly fired upon, right? To the point that the officers didn't want to press the charge. Like, it's like, you cannot be like, well, besties shoot cops, so you know what? We're just going to kill them too. You're a fucking cop.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know what? You know, you had parents. You were raised like every other human being. I'm sure you learned the lesson, two wrongs don't make a right. It's one of those foundational ones you learn early on. You would hope that the people know that one.
Yeah. True. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
So what's the plan then? You want me to dust that one off? Start working?
I'm trying to get some feedback on it because I'm trying to find like a middle ground. I think there's a bit of a fear of like, well, then people aren't going to want to show up. People are going to feel this way. People are going to feel that way. And I'm just like, I brought up the example of every single law enforcement, every single member of the public is held accountable by the DOJ and the police department. Mm-hmm. They are detained. They are forced to answer questions. They gotta go to court. Why does the PD feel like they must never answer?
Yeah.
And
that's the opposite. It's obstruct and avoid. We saw that with my thing with Hayes. No report. No discussion with me. God. No accountability.
Like, we did nothing wrong. It sucks you got killed. Like, what? And you're in the cabinet. Like, literally insane. Right?
And that's what I mean. And then you remember, you called me down here to talk to Moss. And she said, well, I mean, if you take it to court, we'll just pay it out and move on. And I'm like, that doesn't disincentivize anything.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
That's sweep it under the rug. And don't air out your dirty laundry, when in actuality, the public should know what happened and there should be accountability. But someone else paying for your bullshit, that solves nothing. That just says, do it again. We'll cover for it.
It does, exactly. It continues to stunlock me how the simplest amounts of accountability are so heavily skipped by the police department. There's no other way to put it, right? Fucking people go in for God knows how long. If they answer for their crimes, and there's not even like, hey, I don't even want to tell you why we did this. Like, what? Like, I don't know. Like earlier today, right? Like I spoke to Trig, and I was bringing up, we got to go to these calls, and we're just so drained. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I like Trig a lot, right? But I feel like, he gets to at least strike a balance, right? How often do these guys go do like therapy this and therapy that, and like, he's got the fucking brain tumor and all this other shit. You know what I mean? He gets his time for fun and games. Fucking, instead of being on the streets watching over the cops, when I was talking to, Moss and Peters, him and what's her name were like monitoring just in case something happened to Moss, right? Now, I don't care that they were doing that, right? But you can't say you're having to deal with all these calls that you don't have time for anything else when you clearly do have time for other things as well, right?
Yeah.
But all that's being asked for is like a grain of communication with the public. Like a grain of it. Like, just a little bit, like half a page. Like, it ain't that hard.
Yeah. It gives off the impression that the public is a burden.
That's it. I brought up to him too. I'm like, I tried to explain that, like he was shot in a traffic stop. That was mentioned at the meeting, I think. Was it at the meeting or did you tell me separate?
Yeah. I know.
And
Trig talked about it. Yeah.
I couldn't help but be like, have you thought about for a second that maybe you were shot at that traffic stop because you're so disconnected from everybody else? That if I didn't stop Hades yesterday and they ambushed y'all, that y'all would probably just be like, oh man, these fucking Hades fucks, this Ray Romanoff, how like so bullshit, and not relate to why it happened. Right? Or that maybe he was shot during a traffic stop because of what happened yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
Like, people are gonna hold that shit against you. The only way to fight that is communication, right? It's basic fucking social norms, right? If you're not communicating with someone, you're gonna... one sec.
Yeah.
Nino.
It's done.
Did he feel pain?
Lots of it, immense amounts.
Was he alive?
Unsure. He got left at ADMC's block. Because they want to run their mouth, they can deal with it.
You should have put Silas on his fucking forehead.
Oh, I put rat on his chest. Don't worry. It was carved in there. Yes, there's a lot more. I won't go into over the phone because you probably don't need to know about it in case someone else listens. However, it has been handled. Beautiful. Apologies for everything happening.
I appreciate you.
Okay. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Did you put your dog down or something?
It's a dead rat.
Oh, I don't have Jenna's number.
Oh, man. It's, it's gonna be a fun 3 months. But yeah, I think we bring the accountability to the police and not the other way around.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. The gap needs to be bridged between you, the public, and the PD, because the mayor can't wear everything.
No, I keep carrying their burden.
That's it. That's it exactly, right? The PD has pulled us away from doing so many other things that we wanted to do. And I think if they just didn't hold the public at arm's length, they at least attempted to embrace the public and care. I think your job becomes infinitely easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I don't like to have my time wasted, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like there's just a lot of, so I feel bad for people like some of these officers. They put in so much. I can't believe I had to hear that they worked 12 hours this week to fix shit, and I'm just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that, because it's also you're having to fix it because it was fucked for 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? Like I gave you latitude, right? I saw that everyone was absent. I gave time. Own up to the mistakes, right? Have a plan. But I can't even get that. Right? It's like as if it's a burden, right?
That's it. That's it.
So, yeah.
I remember you saying early into term one that the PD was going to be your masterpiece, right? This was going to be your legacy that you were going to leave behind. And I can't help but think, well, fuck, at least we made the court center.
Yeah.
I don't know what more we can do. I'll be honest with you. The committees, I think it's a great idea.
Hearing.
Right. Yeah. The hearings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if anyone sees it as, well, it's a way to target, I think that's fucking dumb as shit. And I don't think I can give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just more of the same, right? That's just, again, ducking accountability.
No, it's pre-crying.
Sure.
I'm calling it pre-crying now. I realize that's the problem with PD. They pre-cry. It's anyone that's in the sphere of law enforcement. It's pre-crying. There's not even like something happened. It's like before something, the sense that something might happen, the crying begins.
You're you're fucking bang on, because now that I think about it, when I got out of surgery after Hayes shot me and I was walking out, Dukakis and Hayes were already fucking crying and pointing fingers at me. So,
like, oh no, why? Oh no, you're gonna report us for us shooting you
yeah,
unjustly. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
I wish I could pre-cry. You know what I mean?
No, we're not afforded that luxury.
I've done things like that before, and it pissed people off so hard.
Yeah.
But I think I'd, it's tough because I do care enough about the PD to, but it's I don't think they're receiving it right. So
It's we called it early.
yeah,
Man. It's a culture issue. It really is, and those are really difficult to fix. And we've thrown nothing short of the kitchen sink at the PD, and here we are. But you're right. I mean, it is our job to care, and the city is a better city when the PD is functioning well. There's no doubt about that. So as with all things, I could look at my workload and go, it's not worth it. It's too burdensome. I could look around at the city and go, the court center's not worth our time. People are just gonna sell shit out of their trunk and fucking rob laundromats and shit like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not out here trying to make excuses, and I'm not going to use all those those opinions that sometimes come up in the back of my mind to talk myself out of trying. So you're right. The PD does have a way to keep pulling us back into this thing, but I think it has less to do with the PD and more to do with the fact that consistently the cabinet has given a shit about the city, and the PD, for better or worse, is part of the city.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong. Everything.
Go ahead.
Nino.
Hey. It's me.
Who's that?
How you doing, Nino?
Archie?
Yep.
What?
I need to let you know something. No matter what happens tomorrow, you have done what no mayor would have done for this city. No mayor in history has gotten as much done as you and your team. You're an intelligent and inspiring leader figure for all around you. Myself and Jesus are really proud of you right now. You're Los Santos' shining light. The outcome of it all has benefited every single individual of this island beyond what they and their little minds, their little incomprehensive minds know. I want to thank you and good job. Nino, your work is not over.
I appreciate that, Archie. Fucking payphones in heaven.
Why is it always at the resort that he calls you?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Miss that guy.
Oh, speaking of, Tilly's still around.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's trying to act like everything's all kosher and shit.
Maybe she just had like a psychotic break.
Yeah.
Back down to earth. No, I don't know why I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Never mind.
That call earlier. Oh man, a lot's happened. We'll discuss it another time, I think.
Yeah.
I have a vision. I spoke to what the fuck's his name? The warden. Scotty. Bolingbrook is going to turn into our Foxconn. And the intern is the first.
Oh, God.
As you can see with my outfit, I've taken inspiration from a great leader, Mr. Steve Jobs. Brand new cell phones, tablets, higher quality, manufactured over in Bolingbrook for $0.
You know, they'd probably welcome that.
They did.
I am not surprised.
Well, if we win the election tomorrow, that's where the focus becomes. We throw the panels at the police department, we wash our hands, and we let the public handle them. While the rest of our work goes towards the court center and the future of technology. We're going to beat out China. You coming?
I was going to give you like a...
Oh, dramatic exit?
Yeah.
I want to beat out China in their production. My understanding is most of the Foxconn workers over there are getting paid about like something along the lines of 50 cents an hour. But
yeah, 6 potato chips.
Scotty promises that it's going to be close to $0. Now, in addition to that, H1 Bolingbrook visas for the best of employees that we, lifers. So lifers can get H1 Bolingbrook visas that allow them to operate outside of the confines of Bolingbrook down at the court center as janitorial.
Work release.
Exactly.
I love that. I think Quantum ran one of those once.
Yeah.
Is it at the park or something like that?
Well, for this, it's going to be, like I said, janitorial work, and maybe, who knows? Maybe we get them citizenship, depending on how they do. So
that's great.
It's I think it's a good way to stimulate the economy.
I agree.
Anything else we want to chat about tonight? Holy fuck, I've been awake for a minute.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. I think I spoke to Danielson. I think we're going to get the results after Storm. I'll be in around before and after.
All right.
And I guess we'll see where things go after that.
Fantastic. Love it.
All right, brother.
All
hey,
right.
Listen, I mean, we all hustled like we do every election period. So
yeah.
Regardless of what happens, I mean, we've always given our best.
That's right.
Keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm pretty satisfied.
Yeah. Hard not to be.
All right. You stay safe, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers. Yeah.
Oh, and call Corolla.
Yeah, we'll do.